So you are from Morocco?
Yes.
And how many languages do you speak?
I speak about 4 languages, English and a little bit French and Arabic, of course it's my mother language, and Turkish.
I actually speak 3 languages, Arabic, French and English a little bit.
Yes.
What's your name?
Yunus.
Yunus.
Oui.
Yes.
Mohammed Younes.
Mohammed.
Yes. Mohammed.
And how many languages do you speak?
3 language.
What are the 3?
Arabic and French and some of English.
Okay. And
Me, I speak in French, Arabic and English.
It just shows you the pride Moroccans have in their country. They want you to see this country at its best. And when you see views like this, it's easy to understand why Moroccans are so proud of this place.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. It's been a while, I know, and those of you that love our cooking recipes, I'm sorry that I kept you that long, but it's been long. Today we're back. We're going to be making cooking, baking something, making something. It's not going to be an easy recipe. It's not going to be a healthy recipe. It's just going to be a recipe. Let's leave it at that. Okay, so this is a recipe that I already shared with you. This is a recipe that you will recognize, those of you that enjoyed watching my Moroccan pen bread recipe. This is going to be the Moroccan pen bread recipe, but this time I'm going to stuff it with ground beef and some vegetables. I promise you it's going to be delicious and you're going to love it. And you're going to want to make it again and again. So for that, I'm going to need 1 kilo of flour, a little bit of semolina. You can use, the rough kind or just the fine kind, doesn't really matter. Okay, so 1 kilo of flour, a little bit of semolina. I'll get back to you for this because this is something that we will be making separately as a dough, still in this video, so don't worry about that. For the stuffing, I'm going to use about 500 grams. Is it on here? Yeah, about 500 grams of ground beef. I have here about 600 grams of all kind of different vegetables chopped up like this. It doesn't matter, just choose whatever vegetables you like. And I have coriander here, and I have onion, chopped onion, and then honestly all kind of spices, whatever spices you prefer. So I have here black pepper, onion powder, curcuma, garlic powder, ginger powder, coriander, dry, and I don't know how you guys call this, cilantro maybe, not really sure, and smoked paprika to give it that smoky scent. I always love that. So basically ground beef, vegetables, and then whatever spices you have. Right, a little bit of olive oil to begin with, heat it up, and then add the ground beef because I have ground beef that's not particularly low on fat. I just got the regular kind, so it's gonna release a lot of fat itself. But of course, at the end, when you're done, what I always like to do is I always like to drain all of the juices from that, especially when you're making it as stuffing for pen bread, because otherwise it's going to ruin your dough. So after you make it, you finish it, it cools off, drain it, and then let it cool off a little bit, and that's what you're going to be using stuffing eventually when your dough is ready. So like I said, first a little bit of olive oil, just a little bit, really doesn't matter how much, just a little bit, and then fry the chopped onion like that, and fry them until they're getting the brownish color on the edges. That's my preference for the way I make onions, the way I fry onions. I don't like them to be still chewy. I like them soft with those colored edges. So when the onion is fried to your liking, then add the ground beef. Those of you that wants to do exactly what I'm doing, I had 175 grams of chopped onion and about how much is this? This is 500 grams of ground beef. So this should be more than enough, So yes, like I was saying, when the chopped onion is fried to your liking, add the ground beef and then fry that because the stuffing needs to be ready. Because what you're going to stuff it with is not going to take too long to finish baking it. So the stuffing really needs to be like done. So at this point, when most of the raw color of the ground beef is gone, that's when you start to add your spices. Again, it really doesn't matter what kind of spices. So I have here the, like I said, the onion powder, although I've used onion, black pepper, curcuma, ginger powder, garlic powder, dried coriander, dried, we call it petusele, not really sure how it's called in English, and then the smoked paprika powder. That's it. If you don't have this, and you live somewhere where it's not really easy to get spices, what you can do also, and I think it will be okay also, is add whatever spices you have and then add a little bit of ketchup, the regular ketchup in there. That tends sometimes to bring it up on flavor. But not too much ketchup though, because it has a lot of vinegar and you do not want to make this vinegary. You want it to make it, what's the word? I forgot. Anyway, like you want this to have the flavor of like a chicken pie, if you know what I mean. Not the vinegar. Don't go in the vinegar direction. And if you like hot food, as in spicy, use a little bit of, hot pepper paste, just a little bit, depend on your preference. Then next step is adding the vegetables. And for the vegetable doughs, you can keep baking them until they become a little bit soft, but they don't have to be mushy. It's okay to have a little bit of chewy vegetable. So guys, when everything is baked, mixed together really well, and everything is soft to your liking, your preferences, just let it cool off. And then it's gonna release its juices and then drain it. So, I'm draining the stuffing. Meanwhile, I'm gonna be making the dough. For the dough, I'm gonna be using our Magimix, the 4200 XL. You guys love that. This is one of our most watched video, explaining to you how you should make dough. If you don't know how to make dough and you get a little bit nervous, especially not knowing how much water you should add, just look the video up that we made explaining to you guys how you should be making dough, specifically with this machine if you happen to have it. Otherwise, same principle. When you have your flour, the amount of flour that you need, whatever you add to it, just keep adding little by little lukewarm water until it all gathers itself in a nice softish bowl of dough. And don't worry about it whether the dough is fine or not, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have it mixed in the Magimix. I'm gonna take it out and then put it in a plastic bag and let it rise in a very tight closed plastic bag for about 20 to 25 minutes. That is going to help. Besides, we are using also the baking powder. So we are creating the perfect environment for the dough to come out as as it should be. So don't worry too much about that. So for the dough right now, I'm going to use 1 kilo of flour, 100 grams of semolina, the fine kind, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 little tablespoon of salt. When I say little, don't turn it into a pyramid of salt on your tablespoon. Just flat surface. That's what I mean. So I'm going to do that. Again, use lukewarm water. I'm not going to tell you how much because not every flour is the same. Just make sure that you keep adding little by little until all your dough gathers itself, more or less. It's not necessarily a sticky mess around the edges. I'll show you. So there are my dry ingredients. Before you start adding the water, first just turn it on and let it spin so that you make sure that all the ingredients are mixed well. Always do that, not just for this recipe, but always. Sometimes you might even want to use the pulse option just to fluff things up, shake them up a little bit. That helps the mixing process. So as you guys will see in my instruction how to make dough with the Magimix, never add your water all at once, never. Always little by little. Until you see little balls of dough created, which then will move the whole thing along and start moving it along and spinning it. It will start to spin itself. Only when you add little by little. I've started with 350 milliliter of lukewarm water, and we'll see how far we will come, whether this is enough or I'm going to add a little bit more, just to give you an idea, an estimate. So eventually I ended up using first 350 milliliter of lukewarm water, and then I added another 225 milliliter. So you do the math. This is okay. I'm happy with this. It's kind of sticky, not too much, and it's definitely very, very soft. So I'm gonna gather the dough, grease my hands with a little bit of whether olive oil or sunflower oil, doesn't really matter, then put it in back and leave it somewhere in a warm room for 25 minutes in closed plastic bag. Meanwhile, you can use that time to clean your kitchen and the mess you've been making so far. All right, so there's our bowl of dough. I'm gonna close the plastic bag. Again, leave it, let it sit for 25 minutes, something like that. Then clean everything off your kitchen counter. The only thing you're gonna be needing is whatever oil you choose to use, some butter that we're gonna melt in the oil in your microwave. So you're gonna need one bowl with some oil in it, add some butter in there, melt the whole thing, and then the semolina. That's the only thing we're gonna be needing. And of course, some kitchen counter space. That's it. So everything else can go, clean it, wash it, do whatever you need to do. So just the oil, some butter, semolina. It's the only thing you need to leave behind. So next, mix a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of sunflower, and about 30 grams maybe of butter. Put a knife in there and just let it melt a little bit in the microwave. There it is. So I'm going to divide the dough. I discovered that what works perfect to get the nice, we call these msemen, to get the nice msemen size is about 180 grams of dough per msemen. So that's what I'm going to divide. I'm going to divide them in about 180. Maybe for this, because I'm going to stuff it, I'm going to keep it at 200 grams because I need a little bit more of dough, you know, to wrap it around the stuffing. So maybe for this one, if you're doing plain with no stuffing, 100 grams per msemen. If you're going to use it to stuff it with what we're making today, then maybe 200 grams per msemen per pancake is better. So that's what I'm going to do. So just first divide it in little balls and then we'll continue. At all times, always grease your hands with this mixture. So I kept the weight of the dough balls between 187 and 190 grams. And if all is well, again, depending on what kind of flour you're using, you're going to end up with, what do I have here? 4, 8, 9. So that's uneven. All right, doesn't matter. 9 it is. We'll go with 9. So before we're going to stuff them, first we have to shape them in little pockets like envelopes. All right, so you take one bowl. From this point on, it's going to be your hands doing the job. It's going to be a hand job. So
What?
I mean, the hand job as in you're doing your hands. Your hands are doing the job. So grab a bowl, all right, and just stretch it out as much as you can. Don't be scared. The dough can handle it. This recipe that I'm sharing with you, the dough will be able to handle it. Stretch it out as much as you can. I'm going to show you just one time, guys. Every now and then, grease your hands with the mixture that we made, like this. It's very important that you stretch it out, otherwise it's gonna be like a brick and it's gonna fail. It's not what you want. It looks big, but I promise you it's gonna be okay. Then just a little bit of the semolina, and the semolina is what will be creating the layers. Now, I do mind our calories, so normally in the authentic Moroccan recipes, of course, the mothers that make these use a lot because they want it to be very poofy. But I'm just giving you the bare minimums. So just use a little bit of semolina. This should be more than enough to create the layers, because once you're baking them, they're supposed air is supposed to go in there, and then you're supposed to have a little layered pancake that's stuffed, and that's what makes it fluffy. There you have it. And then you do this again, grease your hands, grease it again, a little bit of semolina like this. This is more than enough. This should make it fluffy and layered again. So after each fold, you do this again and again. Right? You fold it like this, like that, a little bit of semolina. You fold it like this, and you have a nice package like that. Yeah, and you end up with a nice end up with a little bit of grease. Right? There it is, the top, so that it won't dry out. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna finish it for all these bowls, but you guys have the gist now. You have the trick. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
So guys, something stupid happened. My stupid head is unclear. When you're folding the dough, this looks weird because I had to unfold them. See? I had already folded them. I have to unfold them. So go back.
I forgot the stuffing.
I forgot the stuffing. Go back. While folding this, making this, fold them while the stuffing is in there. So this is how you fold them. Right? Sorry about that. So you fold them with the stuffing in it already. Yeah? So I'm unfolding them. This is really stupid. Like this. Just reversed the whole procedure. Add the ground beef stuffing like this. And then fold the whole thing back. But, again, I'm doing this because I forgot to do it the first time. But when you guys folding these, fold them with the stuffing already in them, please. All right? So I'm going to finish this and then come back to you. So, guys, as they sit there, it's okay. Don't feel like you need to rush things or whatever. So this is what you're going to end up with. And it's okay if it looks like this. This is not burned. This is just the fat of the ground beef and the whole thing that makes it crispy and eventually, you know, bake like this. See? These are the layers. If you don't get them layered or, you know, this fluffy, it's okay. Don't worry about that. So what you do, you take one, you flatten it as much as you can. If you're worried that they will fall apart before you get them to the skillet, what I would advise you to do is a little bit of olive oil or butter or whatever you're using. And then just put them like this in your skillet and then flatten them in your skillet. If this is your first time or you're not really experienced, maybe that's the best thing to do to prevent them from falling apart as you try to transfer them from the kitchen counter to this. Because my fault that I made, but I did that intentionally, is that I made them really heavy stuffed. I used a lot of stuffing. Like my mom or my sister would, bless you, my mom or sister would make them, they wouldn't make them as heavy stuffed as I did. But I know that me and Mike like something that's good stuffed. So, I don't know how else to put it. So, just press it in your skillet, make it flat. Make sure that one side is baked really well before you flip it. And it's baked well when you see these kind of spots. Alright, but make sure that you flatten it, flat enough. Otherwise, you're going to end up with some parts that are a little bit doughy. So, again, you can flatten them on the kitchen counter, or what I would advise you to keep it safe, just put them in the skillet and just flatten them right there. Flatten them as much as possible. while making sure that the dough is not ripping apart. So yeah, it's the dough that makes them simmen, the stuff them simmen. Again, with this one, guys, see? Ow, it's too hot, but just to show you. If you did what I did, you should end with something like that. And that makes it really nice and fluffy. So guys, like I was saying, if you want to be sure, you can do it on the kitchen counter, or you can do it in the skillet, but please be careful, grease your hands a little bit. But be careful not to touch the skillet, because at this point, if you've been baking a couple of them, the skillet is really, really hot. So you can... What?
Is it hot?
Oh, yeah. You can use this, or even better, you can use one of these and just flatten it. You see, it doesn't work, so I always prefer to work with my hands, but you can do that. Or have one that's made out of wood, but preferably use your hands. But if you're not experienced, if you're not a savage like me, just use one of these to flatten them. It's very important that you flatten them.
Spatula.
Spatula. Right? This is it. There you go. Alright, so there they are. This is the last one I'm baking. And I don't know what else to say, guys. I just love sharing my Moroccan heritage with you in this way, this recipe in this case. And I hope I inspired you to try something different, something new. Hopefully you'll try it and you'll like it. And maybe I'll see you soon. If you like what you see, you know the drill. That helps out. Please subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And if you have anything to say, you know the procedure. Share your comment down below, and I always try to read each and every one of them and respond. Keep it polite, keep it kind, keep it peaceful, and I promise you to get an answer from me. Right, take good care, guys, of yourself and each other, as Jerry Spring would say, and I'll see you in the next video. Because take good care. So guys, if you're wondering if you can deep freeze these, freeze them in, yes. I always do that. I always make a batch and then I freeze them for at least a month. But after that, I don't know what will happen, because me and Mike usually finish whatever I make as a batch within a month. So, but yeah, for at least a month, yes, and maybe even longer, maybe even 2 months, not sure.